So the thinking within our forum group was that we needed a mechanism to encourage the functions within the business to act like they worked for the same shareholder. And we believe it's these 8 cross-functional processes. So the idea here is that every firm that's got a customer ought to have a customer relationship management process. And if you have suppliers, you ought to have a supplier relationship management process. And the idea behind both of these processes is that you're going to have some customers and some suppliers who are disproportionately important to your success. It's the Pareto principle, the old 80-20 rule, that 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your customers. But if you look at profitability, it may be even more skewed than that. Maybe 90% of your profit comes from 5 or 10% of your customers. One of our forum members says that 50% of their North American profit comes from Walmart. So again, when you've got customers this important, you do not want one salesperson talking to one buyer, because no matter how good these two people are, they can't be good enough. You want cross-functional teams interacting. You want marketing people in your organization talking to marketing people in the customer's organization. You want logistics people talking to each other. You want to have finance people talking to each other, information systems people talking to each other, and R&D people talking to each other. So for these key customers, we want to work with them to develop mutually beneficial product service agreements. Now, I can't put a team on you as a customer if when you look at your suppliers, I don't qualify as a team. So supplier relationship management is the other side of this, that some suppliers are going to be disproportionately important to my success. I don't want one salesperson talking to one buyer. I want teams of people interacting. So in our view, CRM, customer relationship management, and SRM, supplier relationship management, form the links in the supply chain. And the other 6 processes are coordinated through that CRM and SRM linkage. The first of the 6 other processes is customer service management. This is not customer service the way we normally think about it. If you got a tour of someone's customer service department, it's probably people sitting in front of CRTs with headsets. Maybe customers are calling in placing orders, but probably a lot of those calls are, where is my order? The right product wasn't shipped. The invoice is wrong. The carrier damaged the freight. So it's almost the customer non-service department. I mean, the more people we have working in this group, the worse we are. In our view, customer service management is proactive. These are individuals inside the firm monitoring those product service agreements with customers, identifying when we're falling behind on promises, and correcting so the customer never has to make the call. So it's a much more proactive way of thinking about service. Demand management is the next process, and demand management includes forecasting and something that we call synchronization. Many firms refer to this as sales and operations planning. But it also includes managing all those things that we do as a company to make it difficult to forecast. For example, if we do an end of quarter load, then we're not going to get good sales data going into the next quarter. If order fulfillment has to do with how we fill customer orders and the network that we use to fill those orders. It's more than logistics modeling of a network. If I'm a global company like 3M, I have to make decisions about whether Brazil serves Europe or Asia does, for example. So we need finance people involved, we need logistics people involved, because that will affect the delivery costs and how much inventory is likely to be in the pipeline. Marketing will tell us what service levels have to be for various customer types. Manufacturing will tell us about product costs. Then we have manufacturing flow, which has to do with how much agility we build into the manufacturing process so that we can respond to demand in a more timely fashion. Product development and commercialization is another one of our key processes. And again, we need early supplier involvement in that process. We need key customer involvement in that process, as well as cross-functional involvement within the firm. The final process is returns management. And usually when people think about returns management, they're thinking about reverse logistics. They don't think about a concept that we call avoidance. If I'm HP and I'm getting 8450 inkjet printers returned, I need to understand why they're being returned. For example, if a particular part is breaking down more often than others, how many suppliers do I buy that part from? 3. Well, are they breaking down in equal proportions? No, one's breaking down at 5 times the rate of the other 2. Well, I need to turn that information over to the SRM team responsible for that supplier and ask them to get it fixed. So that's the 8 processes that we've identified, the 8 macro processes that need to be implemented within the firm and then across firms in the supply chain. Now, the processes will not replace the functions. I mean, every now and then you hear someone say, we got to knock down the silos. Well, you start knocking stuff down, people get hurt. All of the knowledge to run the business resides in the silos. So we can't be knocking down silos. We need the functional expertise. Processes will not replace functions. The goal is to pull people out of their functional jobs to serve on the cross-functional teams. What they will bring is their functional expertise to the teams so we make more holistic decisions. When they go back to their job in the silo, they will bring a more holistic view of the business, which hopefully then results in less silo-like thinking within the business function. Now, the supply chain's not as simple as all these Coke cans or oil barrels lined up in a row in this figure that we've got up here. Supply chain in reality, if you're a manufacturer in the middle of it, looks more like an uprooted tree. You pull a tree out of the ground, shake the dirt off the roots. The roots are the supply network, branches on the tree, the customer network. Some of those roots are more important for the success of the tree, some of the branches, just like some customers and some suppliers are more important for your financial success. Now, the thing is, this chart that we've got up here now that shows the uprooted tree is going to look different depending on where you are in it. If I'm a retailer, just move all those consumers up to the box in the middle of the diagram, right? That Walmart's the center of the universe. It's a Bayesian decision tree flowing into Walmart. If I'm a fisherman in the ocean off the coast of Maine, then I'm the beginning of the supply chain. I bring my fish in, and it goes to a packing house, a restaurant. I maybe sell some on the dock to somebody who wants some. The point is, the supply chain looks different depending on where you are in it. Now, it's become fashionable to say companies don't compete anymore, supply chains compete. I get what people are trying to say, but it's not technically accurate. It can only be supply chain against supply chain if we had an A team against a B team. I wouldn't buy from any firm that sold to a competitor. I wouldn't sell to any firm who was a competitor of an existing customer. Now, how often does that happen? Almost never, right? So if you look at that uprooted tree diagram and you put a box above the one in the middle and another one below and call the one on the top Colgate, the one in the middle Procter & Gamble, and the one in the bottom Unilever, and then you start drawing lines between Unilever and Colgate's customers and suppliers, and the ones are already there for Procter & Gamble, what are you going to find? Well, 9 times out of 10, they're buying from the same suppliers, right? So if I'm buying from the same suppliers and I'm selling to the same customers, how can it be supply chain against supply chain? What it's really about is relationship management. If Colgate manages relationships with customers and suppliers better than Procter and Unilever, Colgate will win more often. Our view of supply chain management is that supply chain management is all about relationship management. The firms that manage relationships the best are going to be the ones that do the best long term. And the partnership model is a key part of structuring those relationships.